What's up? Welcome in. We've made it to another Felder Friday ahead of a monster Saturday. October 12th has been circled for some time. And yes, I am not Stephen Hartzell. I'm Kyle Schassberger subbing in for our guy. So he and the family could have a night out in Harrisonburg. Hartzell's coming back as Happy Dukes following the whooping they put on Coastal Carolina on Thursday night. I think they're seeing some caves or something this morning before driving back to the Winston-Salem area.
Right.
The most Hartzell thing ever, right? He has wrote in. He sent in his picks for the 3-for-all where he and Tripp are each 12-6 through the first 6 weeks. Doc is in, Tripp heard. You've heard from him and our man, Michael Felder. Chip Patterson from CBS Sports coming up in about 30 minutes. We'll team up on Oregon, Ohio State, Red River, Penn State, USC, Ole Miss playing LSU, and so much more. But Felder in the bleachers, on Twitter, on X. Beautiful morning to see you, my friend. It's been since July when we were all together, the three of us at ACC kickoff. Good to see you, my man.
Yeah, it's good to see you too, man. Look at you, the mustache still going strong. I'm jealous. I actually trimmed my mustache very recently, and so it's not as strong as yours. Mine is like a little bit thinner. How do you deal with like it getting in your mouth?
Yeah, so I'm rocking more of the push broom for sure. You've got like a lead pencil just hanging up above your lip.
Yeah.
And it is cleaner. It is cleaner. For me, you got to take that trimmer and you got to maybe once a week, maybe a little more if you want to be, extra, studious. Yeah. And you just go across the lip and you just try to take off that extra, quarter inch if you can. So,
yeah, it's tough.
Because more and more at this stage, and look, I rocked a mustache for maybe almost 2 full years after COVID, and then took it off and then go beard. And, I'm back on the stash game now, and it's been since, I don't know, June maybe, maybe May. And this thing, I'm tasting the mustache more than ever, more than I can ever recall. So I don't know if it's growing at a faster rate or what, or maybe it's falling out based on age. But it's the major Tom Selleck look going for me. So Felder, I love listening.
Perfect. That's perfect. The Tom Selleck is that's folks. If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're not watching the clips, yes, very Tom Selleck, very Magnum PI, like for sure, absolutely. I'm gonna go they beat the wheels off Coastal last night, and I was watching it, and I was just like, Coastal it's like they didn't have a pulse. It was bad. That was bad. It was really bad. And obviously Jamie Chadwell's not there. Obviously Grayson McCall's at NC State now. Although I don't know if it matters that he's at NC State because NC State got beat by Wake Forest last weekend.
Have we heard anything about Grayson McCall since? I mean, that was a shot he took last week.
Oh no, he
concussion protocol.
He was released from the hospital the same day.
Okay.
They sent him through the battery. So I will say this, and this is something, and I don't mean to get like too deep. I know we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk some football. We're gonna do the Felder Friday. We're gonna do all that stuff. I have been spine boarded before.
Oh, really?
It is, it's terrifying.
Is that what we call that? Is that the terminology? I hadn't heard that phrase. That makes sense.
Yes. Spine boarding, yeah.
Okay.
We called it that in football. We also called it that when I was a lifeguard. And so he was spine boarded, but we saw him be able to move when he got on the spine board. I was in the same situation where I had temporary paralysis. I was knocked out. Shout out to Cooter Arnold from Davie County. We're doing a practice drill, and he absolutely destroyed me. And
wow, Cooter Arnold.
Yeah,
Cooter.
So
that's a name right there.
And I was paralyzed for anywhere from 7 to 12 minutes. Couldn't move. Couldn't feel anybody touching me. And then finally it came back. Everything came back for me. But they were like, you're going to the hospital. So I had to go get a CAT scan. I had to go get MRIs. I had to get x-rays, the whole thing, this whole battery of tests. And you're like, I want to leave. Please. I'm fine. And they were like, but no, you're not fine. You need to get all these tests done so we can make sure nothing bad happens to you. And so I ended up taking a shower alone in the big locker room. You guys have seen the locker room showers, right? It's 6 hours after practice and my clothes are all there. So they drove me down from, and the good thing about UNC, and I don't know if it's the same with NC State, because he probably went to like a real hospital. I went to UNC. UNC is a real hospital, but it's on campus. It's right behind the football stadium. And so they drove me back to the locker room. They drove me back to the facility, and then it was just me by myself. I was taking a shower alone and then walking through the coach's clinic. But you know what? Your boy still went out that night. So Grayson McCall, I think I don't think he plays this week. I think he's got to figure some things out and like, was this a good decision? Should I play at all anymore? Yeah. So that's going to be really interesting. But it was a clean hit. I will say this: it was a clean hit. It was not. It was. There was a huge difference between violence and targeting, and that was just. It was a violent hit. And football's a violent football. Football's a violent football game. Football's a violent game. It's a violent sport, and so that was really. It'll be interesting to see. Coastal's not the same without him, and then obviously we're going to look at James Madison and JMU. This Barnett kid is so good.
199 yards, 3 TDs, 16-28 Thursday night. 39-7 was the final, so that's what the Hartzels were treated to. It was 7-7 after the first quarter. You had a 35-yard pick six as well. I think that was in the second half, third quarter of that game. So JMU bounces back from the big letdown, 21-19 to ULM the previous week. 1-1 in conference play. So, the start JMU had, scoring all those points. And by my tally, 172 points for the Dukes in their last three wins.
Right.
202 total in 4 of their 5 wins. If we go ahead and scrap the 13-7, 13-6 win over Gardner-Webb. So, Alonzo Barnett, man, he's a dude, man. He's a dude.
I love watching him play. He's very fun. Like, it's a good. This is a good football team, and they go out and get the job done. So I'm looking forward to watching them. I can't wait to hear Hartzell talk about like being there. Like my kid's never gone to a UNC football game.
Really?
So, yeah, I haven't been back to Chapel Hill since 2012.
No kidding.
Yeah,
I guess you've been a little busy though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a kid.
I'll be there for the first time this Saturday.
You've never been?
Never been. I'm going. This is what we do in the business, okay? Thanks to Learfield, and as an aspiring play-by-play guy, I got to get reps, right? Saturdays, I'm normally on Trade Street, so I get to go out and do a little mock broadcast. So I'm going to work on my craft. So I'm not going as a fan, but I'll be up there in the press box or maybe outside. We'll see. But it will be my first experience of Keenan and the whole Saturday, which, how many seats were available for homecoming last week against Pitt?
Dude,
and you had friends that were in town, right? You were able to catch up on Sunday, get together with them after they rolled through Chapel Hill. I mean, what was their report on the vibe?
Bad. Not good. I mean, it was empty. And obviously they tried to do the broadcast crew tried to do a good job of like framing shots and keeping them tight, but
yeah.
There were a lot of empty seats there, and that's just the reality of going to UNC and being a UNC football fan. If that's what it is, the Dean Dome's always going to be packed. Dean Dome will always be packed. Bosch, hit or miss, if people are paying attention or not, and it also depends on who they're playing at the Bosch. Bosch is the baseball stadium,
right?
But literally, like Keenan is. It's bigger and it's easier to see that people aren't there. And notably, like it's notorious for people showing up late. And this time they were like, late? How about never? So, and hey, you lose the pit. So, all right, you tell me, what do you want to do? What do we got?
Well, hey, before we go on, let me just read this real quick on JMU.
Mm-hmm.
If you like to bet JMU, I want to just give you a recap of what they've done for you so far this year.
Mm-hmm.
In week 1 at Charlotte, they're favored by 6.5.
Dude,
no sweat cover. They won 30-7. In week 2, they're at home against Gardner-Webb. They're favored by 37 points.
Mm-hmm.
They won the game 13-6.
Right.
In week 4, they're getting 10.5 at Carolina. They won 70-50.
Yep.
As a 22-point favorite in week 5 against Ball State, they won by 56. Then last week, as a 17-point favorite, they lost the game outright to ULM. And then they had another no sweat cover last night. I think the line was like 9 points or something, and they win by 30. So
you're telling me
just
that we
a
have no
roller
idea.
coaster for JMU this year if you've been betting on the Dukes.
So you mentioned Charlotte. My dad's one of my dad's best friends, and another one of his friends that he went to college with. My dad went to ECU. They got smoked by Charlotte.
Yeah.
That's a thing that's not supposed to happen.
Tough scene.
And so they were at the game. They went to the game because his game's here. They live here. Okay, we're going to go to the game. Just got smoked. So speaking of roller coasters, ECU's season has been a roller coaster. JMU.
Felder, I was there. I was at Dowdy Ficklin a couple weeks ago when they played UTSA and won 30-20, and that was my first ECU. I took Saturday off. Girlfriend's an ECU alum, one of 11 in her family, so I get that side of it very much. As that history.
That program.
Desperate to get back to relevancy, and the frustration with Mike Houston is boiling over. And they want him gone, but it's a matter of putting money together to get rid of him. In a place like that. So
that's an interesting dynamic, though, because Charlotte hired Mike Houston, and then ECU was like, "Hey, man, no, we were going to hire you," and he's like, "Oh, I'm going there."
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. What do you want to do? You want to get into the Felder 5?
Well, let's do that. Let's close the loop on all the games that we had real quick. Let me just run through. Also on Thursday night, Louisiana Tech 48-21 over MTSU. That's Sonny Cumbie getting his first FBS win this year. MTSU still without a win. Evan Bullock, 5 TDs, 18-25, 5 touchdowns, 290 yards in that win over the Blue Raiders on Thursday night. Western Kentucky on Wednesday, 44-17 over UTEP. Felder, that was Thursday night. Then on Wednesday, Brock Rechsteiner had a touchdown. The son of Scott Steiner. I love him. He's got that. What do you call what the Knights wear? That little metal, like, holy veil that is across, and he's got pictures where he's posing like his dad. Like that takes me back to when I was a kid watching wrestling, because I remember watching Scott Steiner and company. So Rechsteiner had a TD, 54-13 win. It was easy. Liberty needed OT over FIU, 31-24. Yeah. So a lot of games. We had 3 Thursday, 1 each Tuesday and Wednesday. Sunbelt, CUSA in full steam, and the Lock Doctor already operating in the black too. He went plus 19.5 on W. Gates.
Like the tops, baby.
On Thursday night. We didn't get to NC State Syracuse trip with Phil Steele. By the way, if you want to go back one more episode, Felder, just to plug our stuff, we got the Phil Steele show every Thursday. Tripp and I co-host with Phil. We passed over that State Cuse game, so to close the loop on Grayson McCall, Dave Doran did say the results have been glowing since McCall's exit from Wake Med Hospital where he was. So, I think it's concussion protocol and likely to play this weekend, but certainly trending in the most positive directions as you can. We've talked too much Carolina ball out of the gate for the October 12th that we have. So, I say we jump right in. We're going to hear from Chip in about 15 minutes. So, for you, Felder, number one on the Felder 5, will people have to put respect on Dylan Gabriel's name after this game?
Yeah. I think that, look, they're limping around because they don't have him. If Oklahoma had Dylan Gabriel right now, I think they'd be in a lot better position. And Dylan Gabriel's going out and he's making plays. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's doing what we saw him do at UCF. He's doing what we saw him do at Oklahoma. This is a guy that I think is a hell of a football player. And you know what? If I had to say, like, all the time when I do stuff for Bleacher Report, when I do stuff for you do NFL draft content, you do all this stuff. You have to come up with what do they call player comps? I think he probably fits into this like Brock Purdy world. Is he going to be a first round draft pick? No. Like, he's not going to be Joe Burrow. He's not going to be Lamar Jackson. But if your starting quarterback messes up or gets hurt, knock on wood, and he gets in the game, it's going to be pretty hard for you to take him out of the game. And I think that's what we're going to see. And I think we're going to see that this weekend against Ohio State. Ohio State team that, and I understand in theory, they blew out Iowa, but for 30 minutes,
it was a game.
That football game was just, they were locked up. They didn't know what to do. And their only answer to the problem is, let's just throw the ball far. It's a good answer against Iowa. I don't know if it's a good answer against Oregon.
It's just not a lot of teams that have that answer, though.
Right.
That's the thing. Like Ohio State's one of the very few teams that has an answer for something like that with the freshmen. Man, there's some good freshman wide receiver.
Yeah, Ryan
wide
Williams
receivers out there this
obviously.
year. Ryan Williams, Jeremiah Smith. Good Lord.
And so just for the record, everyone that says that's like getting upset with Ryan Williams having to kill everybody, it's a reference to the program.
To the movie. Yeah, the program. It's a great movie.
Reference. It's a great movie. Alvin Mack, kill the quarterback, hit the tight end so hard his girlfriend feels it. Kill the quarterback, kill the tight end, kill the running back, kill everybody. That's what it is. This is not like a guy. It's fine. It's fine.
First top 5 showdown in Autzen Stadium history. That place is going to be as bonkers as it's ever been. Ohio State's first trip since 1967. They won 30-0 in that game. That was, according to Phil, was the year before they won the title in 68 under Woody Hayes. But revenge, a part of the equation here too. I mean, the Ducks went there 3 years ago and won 35-28 in Columbus. Yeah. Now Ohio State comes back. Felder, I think they're the more complete team. Like I understand Gabriel and his upside, but can he extend the field? Can they get vertical enough on this Ohio State defense? A lot of dink and dunk with Gabriel, and that's why part of why his completion percentage is so high. He's smart, like you said, more Brock Purdy-like as a cop. I love that. 77.8% leads the nation, one of just 2 quarterbacks above 75. And just to think a year ago, he's not. He spreads the wealth. He manages. I hate to use that word because it's got like a negative connotation. I think of Kyle Orton, and Tripp can recall that one as a game manager. You got a couple of Bears fans here, Felder. All right, we're on to London. Okay, we're about to be 42 after this.
I will say this, Schass. I think the biggest thing for me with football in general, NFL, college, everybody wants a big play. Everybody wants this long vertical stretch game. I get it. It does matter. Having the threat of that does matter. But Dillon Gabriel understands. He knows what his arm is. He knows what he can do. And he does not get greedy. And we saw this. There's a guy, Dana Holgorsen, might be the most greedy coach. He's a good coach. Greedy. He gets caught with his hands in the cookie jar more than anybody. And that's Dillon Gabriel he's like, no, I'm going to take what they give me. I'll take what they give me. I'll take what they give me. I take what they give. And then after I take what they give me enough, now I've got to pump and go. And we're over to the top. One time, I only need to do this once or twice a game. But every other time, let's hit this 6-yard. Let's hit this 4-yard. Let's hit this behind the line. And I'm going to let you know what I am? I'm Dillon Gabriel. Listen to my name, Dillon Gabriel. I'm not fast. I'm not strong. You know who is fast and strong? All these other guys around me that Dan Lanning brought in to be fast, strong guys. If I just can get them the ball, they can be fast and strong on the edge. And I think that's the most important part.
Just a year ago, Gabriel at Oklahoma guides the Sooners to, what was it, 34-30 win over Texas in Red River. And now he trades that one in for this contest. And Oregon, 8-2 at home against top 10 teams. But, this Ohio State defense, you got to look at their schedule, though. You got to unpack it. And Felder, this might be a springboard for you into number 2 on the Felder 5 with Ohio State's Ryan Day and managing Will Howard and the comms there. But Ohio State, just give you some contextual info here over to this stage of the season. 1/3, nearly 1/2 of the way through, plus 39.2 point differential, FBS best. They've allowed just 6.8 points per game. They've won every game by 28 plus, allowing the fewest points since 1973. I mean, this, we've become kind of programmed and accustomed to this, but still, these are generational numbers in relation to what we've seen.
I'm ready to learn about this team. And Tripp, we talk about it every week, right? We're trying to learn something about them. And the reason I wrote it in there, and you already said it, Ryan Day and managing his quarterback and managing the communication system. He is a micromanager. He's literally the opposite of a boss that gives you enough rope to hang yourself. He's like, no. If you're going to get hung, I'm going to do the hanging. And he wants perfect plays all the time. And watching the way that Iowa adjusted at the 15-second mark, and that's something that I think is very important. And so if you're watching this game, watch what happens at the 15-second mark for them. Because when there's 15 seconds and under on the play clock, the comms shut off, which means Ryan Day is not now in full control. Will Howard has to make decisions. And that's where I thought Iowa really shined in the first half. Now, when the decision is already made for you, hey, throw it far. It's harder for Iowa to combat that. But I do think that that's going to be really interesting. And I think Oregon is they're going to watch. Ryan Day in perfect plays has been kind of my personal bugaboo since he took over for Urban Meyer. Watching Justin Fields when Alabama they were playing, was it the national championship game? Is that right? Or was it a semifinal? They were playing Alabama, and literally Alabama only had 10 guys on the field, and they had one guy completely uncovered. And the guy's like, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. And Justin Fields like, okay, yeah. And Ryan Day, it calls a timeout because he's like, we're not lined up in the perfect play. And I'm like, the guy knows it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen in college football over the course of this season. Coaches who have confidence in their quarterbacks let their quarterbacks play. And they either go faster than the 15-second mark, right? With the play clock, or they let their guys make the decision after and they walk. And Dylan Gabriel is one of those guys. He'll let it go below 15. Then you see him walk around real quick, tell somebody what to do and knock this out. And I think that's going to be maybe the most interesting part of this game.
Let's ask Chip Patterson.
Yeah,
let's go.
Guy.
Bringing the juice, bringing the energy per usual. Follow him on Twitter at Chip_Patterson. Cover 3 podcasts, CBS Sports, National College Football writer, even some basketball in there. I know the state of North Carolina has already turned their attention to the hardwood, but we're going to focus on football. Let's stay on this matchup, Chip. You heard Felder talking about the comms and Ryan Day, Ohio State, Will Howard going up against Oregon, colossal showdown. What's the leading talking point for you about this matchup? Is it Ryan Day against Stan Lanning? Is it the quarterback battle? Is it the trenches? Can Oregon, embrace and match the physicality of Ohio State? What do you like most here when it comes to discussing the Buckeyes and the Ducks?
I wonder if we see, and not that they would specifically steal from them, though, sign stealing, but I wonder if Michigan taught Ohio State something, because last year, Michigan slow played, 6 games, 7 games? Like, just was like, we don't have to do anything. We don't have to do anything. Yep. And one of the key indicators that I know that has been standing out to me has been the quarterback design runs with Will Howard, because we know from his 24-game sample set from Kansas State, it's something that he can do. And we were like, well, why is it not even there? And there against Iowa, we started to see it a little bit more. And so I'm kind of under the impression that Ohio State has just been preseasoning the entire first half of the season, which brings me to 2 interesting thoughts. Number one, oh my God, the juggernaut might be able to have another level. But from a competitive standpoint, sometimes I think it's hard to just ratchet it up. I like the fact that Oregon's had to struggle a little bit, that Oregon's had to bleed. They've had to find out,
Boise State game.
Boise State, man, they were going to lose. They had to sack up and figure out ways to go out there and get stops and get scores. And so Ohio, if this game was played in a simulation 10,000 times by robots, Ohio State's got more talent and Ohio State's got more advantages. But it ain't being played in a simulation. It's being played in Autzen Stadium in a building where they took down number 3 Michigan in 2003, where they took down number 7 Michigan State in 2014, in a place where that place is going to be absolutely electric. So can Ohio State, which has not had to bleed, when they are finally challenged with a team of comparable talent, are they going to be able to take it up to that next level? Because Ohio State at 100% peak efficiency, in my eye, is the best team in college football. But there's the Ryan Day criticism that I was listening to from Michael Felder. There's absolutely the Ohio State just sort of joylessness that we've seen at times, where it's God, this is so plain. And then you hit a Jeremiah Smith easy button, then you hit a Emeka Buka easy button. That Ohio State has more answers and easy ways to score, and their defense is amazing. But when you get into that environment, will Oregon can they be able to play a little bit above their heads? Because Oregon playing above their heads can win this football game. And so that's where a lot of the talking points for me are. I think I know what Ohio State can be at 100%. Ohio State has not had to show anything close to that. So what do they bring on Saturday in Eugene?
Well, being 100% is an interesting thing because 100% in the horseshoe is different than 100% in Outson. 100%. Like let's be real. They're going to have to play a football game at a time they usually don't play football games. and it's not as bad as Miami last week, right?
Yeah, at Cal, like going all the way out there and kicking off at 10:15 low. Like, I mean, it'll be late afternoon in Eugene, like it'll still be, somewhat.
It's a 7:30 kick. They play games at 7:30. They don't play a lot of games at 7:30, but they play some. But you do have to travel. That's an interesting element for me. But the big thing for me, Chip, is I don't know if you've noticed this. So let me ask you, have you noticed the way that teams are battling with these communication devices?
I've been looking at it in terms of overall tempo. Like I haven't gotten. I personally have not gotten into. I love hearing people talk about seeing the different shifts because that is more advanced. I don't think there's enough defenses that can play that advanced. I don't know how many defensive coordinators trust their defenses enough to be able to do those kinds of shifts that like Phil Parker was able to do out there in Iowa. And I don't know. This is going to sound bad. This is going to sound slanderous, but like Dan Lanning is the head coach. He's a former great defensive coordinator. You assume his fingerprints are all over this defense, but there's a lot of college football fans across the country who've got Tosh Lupoy complaints from his lengthy career as a defensive coordinator. And I think that this Oregon defense on the back end has a few less dudes than it does up in the defensive front.
In the front, yes.
And so I'm curious about how they want to be able to structure that given all the different threats that Ohio State poses.
I just think that Ryan Day is such a perfect play guy.
I know.
And you remember that? What was it? The national Ohio State playing Alabama, and Alabama only had
2020 national championship.
Yes, and Alabama only had 10 guys on the field. And Fields is looking at the wide receiver. Wide receiver's looking at him. Let's go. And Ryan Day's like, no. What are we doing? So it's going to be interesting. So there's that. And speaking of how Day manages his quarterback, I know Schass. I know we want to get to this. I'm gonna give you the space. But just the Arch versus Ewers situation.
Are you asking me or Schass?
I want Schass to get in because I think that's important.
Well, yeah. So my thing, we're giving the reins back to Quinn. We're not going to Wally Pip him, right? So if he's healthy, he's going to come back in. This is going to be his team. But what is the leash here? Like, what realistically, what are you expecting? Because I'm curious about the Michael Hawkins, junior factor too. Like, I think the bye serves him so much better because this guy is still trying to ingratiate himself into the offense, get the reps after Jackson Arnold. Quinn's coming in off an injury. Could be some rust there. You got Arch lurking in the background. Quinn might put more pressure on himself because of that too. I think Hawkins is coming in playing with house money, given to Texas is such the heavy favorite, 14.5, which, rivalry game, give me OU all day. But I think this could be a lot. This can go a very different way from what I think the public is expecting on this one. And I think Quinn Ewers is who we got to lock in on the most.
Do you remember Quinn Ewers' first 3 possessions against Brent Venables last year? Interception, punt.
Mm-hmm.
Brent got him last year. And look, credit to Quinn Ewers for battling, for hanging in there, for being able to get themselves in a position where, maybe if they don't kick that field goal, red zone woes were like Texas's like big issue throughout a lot of last year. And, if they were a little bit better in that game, then maybe Dylan Gabriel doesn't even have the chance to go do those heroics at the end of the game. But the beginning is that's what's standing out to me because Schass, I'm actually kind of the mindset where across 4 quarters, I don't know if Oklahoma's got the horses. Like,
yeah, can they keep up? You know, like that first half, and I heard on Lock's Pod Thursday, by the way, Cover 3 podcast, Chip Patterson, Bud Elliott, Don Fornelli, Danny Cannell, they're all there. It's great. Inject it into your veins, make it a part of your content weekly. The comment was made, hey, for first quarter or first half number, for Oklahoma, keeping it close. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But, you're going to get OU's best shot. You've seen Venables' success. You got a more mobile quarterback in Hawkins. The Ewers factor, the havoc, that defense. I mean, things can get weird at the State Fair, and it's not your normal 12 noon time either. It's 3:30. I mean, the fans are going to be more lubricated. I mean, this is going to be ratcheted up to new levels that we haven't seen.
Yeah, we play that game a lot. So obviously you've heard us before, but like we played the game. Okay, how many points does it take to win this game? Because I think if Texas gets to like 28-31, I don't think Oklahoma can do that. And so, can Oklahoma keep this thing tight enough to be able to have a chance and inject a little bit of doubt and look for that Red River magic? Get the defensive score, get the special team score, something that's a little bit fluky to help even everything out. I mean, hell, that's how they beat Auburn. Offense didn't win that ball game. So Oklahoma still has enough raw talent. Oklahoma still has enough athleticism, but especially with, I don't know. I think all 4 of us could maybe head down to Dallas and at least get a jersey to play wide receiver, even if I can't catch worth a lick, just because they got 0 healthy wide receivers. And and then you could say, like, okay, well, if Hawkins is your quarterback, well, how much of a downfield passing attack are you going to be able to present whatsoever? They are a limited group with an excellent defense and excellent defensive coaching. So when I'm looking at this and the Quinn and the Arch factor in the back of Sark's mind, he might not want to break Quinn, because that is still the dude that went into the big house and in 30 minutes of football put the Wolverines away.
Yeah. Put him in a body bag.
Yeah, and he did it at Bryant-Denny, and he led this huge comeback. I was in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl semifinal. That Texas team looks like they were done, and they said no. I walked out of that game very impressed with Quinn Ewers and very impressed with Texas's resolve in that spot against the Huskies. Great third quarter, great second half in general. And so to not break Quinn in his first game back from a tummy ache, I think it is very, very important that you give him some time to work through some stuff early rather than keep him on a short leash and throw Arch back in there. Because you know what? You've got Arch. Like this, you might need Arch against Georgia. You might need Arch against Texas A&M. You might need both quarterbacks to win those games, or the SEC championship, or a national championship, the college football playoff. I would have so much of a big picture worldview when it comes to this quarterback situation and how quickly I want to yank Quinn Ewers, because he's shown before that he can shake off a rough start. But I mean, you at least introduce the idea of letting Arch go out there and get some snaps if he's really struggling.
And as much as I want to love Michael Hawkins Jr., I can't be blinded by the wide receiver situation. Deion Burks ruled out on Thursday, so still remaining the 5 top wide receivers are all out for OU. Tripp, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I do, because, Chip, we make a lot of picks on this show, especially towards the end. So I want to get your take on this, because it sounds like with everything we've just talked about, maybe you would lean towards the under in this game, but it's Red River. It's a rivalry game. It just tends to get crazy in these matchups. Do you have a lean either way, over under here?
So are we still at 48.5? It goes 49.5, then 50.5, then 48.5. Where are we dancing around that key number?
48.5.
48.5.
I'd go over because of the potential of defensive or special teams touchdowns. I don't think within the natural rhythm of the game, if they were just going out there and playing offensive possessions, I don't think we'd see a game that gets up there. But there's something about that game that's have y'all seen the video? I guess it was from a couple years ago, and they probably do it every year. But a team cameraman is running out onto the field with Texas. When they get out of the tunnel, it's just massive boos. And right when they get to midfield, you start to hear it a little bit more. And by the time you get to the other end zone, it's electric, cheering. Yeah. You mentioned that 3:30 p.m. there's too much energy to not think that there's going to be something chaotic like a scoop and score, a pick six, a punt return touchdown. And look, as somebody who sweats unders all the time, ain't nothing going to nuke your under more than one of those like out of sync touchdowns. And Red River tends to be able to give them to us.
Well, speaking of energy, that makes me want to go to the Bayou next. Let's talk Ole Miss LSU, can we? Because you talk about getting weird. You're talking about chaos. You think of the game last year. What was it, 55-49? I mean, yeah, you had Ole Miss scoring Trey Harris, who at this point we don't know. He's questionable. I mean, he's got 52 receptions on the year, 14 more than the next closest guy in the SEC. This guy's killing 835 yards, I think more than 300 than the next guy behind him in the FBS. He's questionable. He didn't play the second half against South Carolina. The home team has dominated this series. What is it, 10-1 covered ATS trip? Do you remember from talking to Phil yesterday?
Look it back up. Yeah.
I mean,
it's tight. So they've covered 9 of the last 10. Home team has covered 9 of the last 10. Home team is 10-2 in the last 12 straight up. And home team has won and covered, I think, in the last 4. So
there you go. In the backdrop's Death Valley. It's Brian Kelly, who is
12-0 at night at LSU.
16-1 overall. They've won 13 straight overall at Tiger Stadium. I spent 2 years down there. I went to many games. I took in an Alabama-LSU game. I was there in 2014 when LSU won, I think it was a 10-7 ball game against then number 3, Ole Miss. Some wild stuff goes on, and there's some secret hate between these two programs as well.
I don't think it's secret.
I don't think it's secret either.
Okay, all right.
Well, and it's from like the fans and the alums. Like the students hate each other, and like they cross paths so much in that. Part
we're in that space. We're in that circle, so we know. But people don't think LSU and Ole Miss. They think LSU and Alabama. They think LSU and Florida. I think more so on the whole. But you're right. What's the X factor for you in this matchup? I mean, Nussmeier has more TDs than anybody. But he's thrown 2 picks in every game this year. Ole Miss and Jackson Dart bounce back into form last week against South Carolina. Can that defense, what Lane Kiffin did in the transfer portal, will they stand the test against this LSU offense on the road?
I'm not sure about Ole Miss in general if they're right. You mentioned the Trey Harris, what we were dealing with like an Achilles, right? No. I mean, even if he goes out there, am I expecting him to be 100%? I'm not.
No.
The offensive line has been a little bit, banged up, shuffling around. Performance hasn't been fantastic. Jackson Dart, even, the stat profile is still going to be amazing, but just like for my eye, it doesn't look like everything's clicking. And some of that goes back to, the offensive line and the wide receiver health and everything else. But I think that LSU coming out of an off week has an advantage in terms of health and has an advantage in terms of the rhythm of the season that can maybe close the gap, because Ole Miss's performance has been better than LSU's. But do you know what Ole Miss has not had yet this season? An off
week. 7 in a row.
7 in a row. And they've gone, and that offensive line has gone up against Kentucky's defensive line, which has got dudes. It's gone up against South Carolina's defensive line, which has got dudes. And while, again, no one is calling LSU's defense among the cream of the crop in the SEC.
No, not close.
They got athletes though. Like I'm very curious to see if Ole Miss goes into Baton Rouge at night in Tiger Stadium with a banged up roster in their 7th straight game against an LSU team coming off a bye. That is an LSU problem. That is an indication of where that roster is at. That is an indication of where that team is at, because I just see so many just sort of like intangible advantages allowing LSU to be able to close the performance gap and maybe even close some of the talent gap when you look at how well Ole Miss's defensive front has been playing. Because when we want to talk about the way that Ole Miss's secondary has been tested, what's your favorite passing offense they've faced this year? Is it the South Carolina passing offense? Is it the Kentucky passing offense?
Right.
Maybe it's the Wake Forest passing offense. Like there's just the corners and the safeties have not been tested like they will be.
The answer's got to be USC, right?
The answer's got to be South Carolina for the best passing offense that they faced.
That Ole Miss is faced.
Ole Miss is faced.
Yeah, Ole Miss has not. Yeah, Ole Miss is firm in middle.
I think it's Wake.
It might be Wake.
Yeah,
I like this Ole Miss defense. I like this Ole Miss defense. I will say that, and I've said it, and I will. They are They're too small. They are. They're small.
Well,
But
that front fights. That front plays with an edge to it for sure.
Exactly. They are. But that's what I was going to say. They are incredibly penetrative. Like they understand that. You know what we can't do? The thing that Alabama and Georgia do, which is like have a guy hold two guys and muddy everything up. No, you know what I have to do? I got to get skinny. I got to get back here. Because if I don't get back there, we're in trouble. I can't let this guy get on me. I can't let him touch me. And I think that's the thing I really like. They're finding a way. Like I don't know if you watch Chopped TV show.
The cooking show?
Yeah. I'm
familiar with the concept. I'm not familiar with the characters.
Ole Miss is literally just you get a basket and you just got to make the best dish you can. That's what their defense is. You get a basket of ingredients that don't even go together and you figure it out. And what they figured out is, hey, man, let's get skinny. Let's get fast. Let's do this. Let's be land sharks. Let's move around. I really like that about them. I want to see if Peggy, we haven't mentioned Peggy, but I want to see if he's healthy, who's kind of their Swiss Army knife, both sides of the ball. We've seen this guy score touchdowns,
score 2 touchdowns.
But also watching him be penetrative on the defensive side of the ball. So it's very interesting to watch. I like watching them play. I love the way their defense flies around. They've got a bunch of pieces. Again, that's why I reference Chop. They got a bunch of pieces that don't mix, but they find a way to put out a dish, and the dish looks pretty gourmet.
Sounds like my how I cook. I call it a casserole. I just throw in a meat, a pasta, a little bit of veggie, a little bit of dressing, just shake it up in a little flag container.
That's a good ass name.
That's all I need, a casserole, you know?
Pretty solid.
Chip, before we let you go, what do we think about Penn State?
There is very easy, high floor, low ceiling. I love the way
that's a great way to put it. High floor, low ceiling. Yes.
High floor, low ceiling. I just like the way that defense can like slowly wear you down and bury you with Carter and Dennis Sutton and it's just, I feel like I watch offensive linemen wear down over the course of the game and then Penn State ratchets up the pressure. They smell that blood in the water, and then like quarterbacks are just miserable, just an absolute hell. But we are dealing with an offense that I think the offensive line plays well. They obviously have 2 really dynamic backs, but I mean, the same story. Like, how are we going to make a defense truly respect pushing the ball deep down the field? Like, who are your difference makers on the perimeter that are going to be able to like just change the numbers or the structure enough to be able to create a little bit more space? Because the offensive line and Allen and Singleton, they have to do a lot of work. And now, thankfully, they're all awesome that they're able to go out there, and when they beat up on like bad opponents, you can see the difference. But that's why I say low ceiling, because I think Drew Aller's a good player, but the offense in general, even with the change to Andy Kotelnicki, doesn't strike fear in the hearts of top tier defenses. So like their
best players, is their best players probably what? Tyler Warren?
Oh, look, Tyler Warren at tight end is like your best player, and you obviously missed on the Julian Fleming thing. Everyone wanted him to be what everyone's been asking Julian Fleming to be, and he just isn't. What's his name? Is it Harrison Wallace? They got a young guy who they're trying to get to emerge right now along the at the wide receiver position. Like it's
Harrison Wallace. He's not young though.
How is he a junior?
Yeah.
Oh man, like
red shirt junior.
Yeah, we're just but that's what I'm
he's
saying.
A young red shirt junior though.
But but he's new. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like it's like we're asking him to be like, okay, well maybe this will be it. You know, like maybe this will be the answer that can take us over the top. So I'm kind of the mindset that Penn State has like a really, really high floor. But when it comes to winning the games against the very best teams in the country, they're going to need probably those opponents to play down to them, because there is somewhat of a ceiling on the squad.
Well, I don't think USC's one of those teams, honestly. But
I agree.
I will say, after watching Penn State play Illinois, I don't know if I can trust Penn State to go on the road at USC. I know they are popular.
Come on, man. Illinois is a good team.
They are a good team. They are a good team. But Penn State seems like, I don't care who they bring in for offensive coordinator, it seems like the same old story every year. They kind of can't get out of their own way on offense. And I'm just worried USC hits a couple big plays. How are they going to come back?
I am very concerned that a USC offensive line that got whooped up on by Minnesota is going to be in trouble.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
I mean, the US picking USC in this game is picking on Penn State to slip on the banana peel and thinking that dog backed into the corner USC. They're just like, yo, we can't go 1-3 to start the Big Ten era. You know, that's such a massive disappointment for the Trojans.
USC.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say USC might be more hungry, certainly where they are coming off that loss. More desperation at home. Does Nick Singleton play on the availability report? Will they have the two-headed monster back? And Drew Aller, does he take that step we've been waiting on him to take for a year and a half?
No, he won't.
But he doesn't need to necessarily.
I'm gonna before we let you go, Chip, I just want to can we get an Ashton Jeanty appreciation discussion?
Look, there is there is something that happens because we always have to be like Heisman this, Heisman that. And, we're always talking about the Heisman odds board, and that stinks because it keeps us from appreciating excellence. It keeps us from appreciating greatness. And it's like when he is going out there and every single, he's running against 8-man boxes all the time.
The whole time.
I mean, it's just the fact that he is so individually so much better, making the Mountain West, which I do think is a good football conference. He's turning that into high school highlight reels. I mean, that was old high school football. Yeah. Okay, who's the best athlete that we've got in this school? You're going to touch the ball as much as give him the ball as much as possible, and he's going to go out there and he is making that look like high school highlight reels. We have seen running backs and wide receivers enter a season with hype and then not really be able to replicate it. This guy's been doing it, just stacking success. So I wish him nothing but full health and continued production because he's coming for those Barry Sanders, Melvin Gordon single season records.
11 o'clock game for 17th ranked Boise State at Hawaii. CBS Sports Network. Let's plug CBS for you. 95 carries, 1,031 yards, 16 TDs, 10.9 average, and Barry's records in 88. Year I was born, 2,628 yards, 37 TDs. He's rushed for more yards individually than all but 21 FBS teams, excluding Boise State. Impressive stuff. Chip Patterson, CBS Sports, National College Football Writer, Cover 3 podcast. Get it wherever you podcast, at Chip_Patterson, again on Twitter, on X. Chip, thanks for stopping by, man. That's your bunker, right? That's your game day command center where you'll be when y'all go live with the Cover 3 tailgate late Saturday.
That's right. Saturday night, 11:30 p.m. Eastern time. I will be right here. I will have thrown my mind and my body through the tumbler that is a 15-hour workday, and then I'll just crack my skull open and empty out all my thoughts out here on youtube.com/cover3. So come and hang out.
That's beautiful.
Smash that subscribe button.
Yeah. Sounds good. Y'all be well.
Love it.
Thanks, Chip. That's Chip on CSN on a Felder Friday. Appreciate him coming by. Chip's good, man. It's always good to see him. We missed him in Charlotte, Felder, because, the CBS Big Ten multimedia rights agreement had Bud Elliott there for just half a day, I think on Monday or Tuesday, and then everybody else was just in Indy, so we didn't get to catch up with him.
Yeah, I saw Chip when I did a live show for Hand in the Dirt. I got to see my boy Chipper. So I've known Chip since college. Chip and I have been, I just realized this. Chip and I have been friends for 20 years.
Wow.
Love that dude.
He brings a ton of energy to all the shows he does. I watch, I listen to Cover 3. I watch the Early Edge thing they do. It's all good, but he's loving it. Maybe we can replace Hartzell with Chip Patterson.
Don't do that.
Work out a deal. I'm just
He's going to listen to this, and he's not going to be. He's going to be happy with me. He's not going to be happy with you two. He's going to be happy with me.
Trip, are you wearing shoes in Hartzell's office right now?
No, totally barefoot, just toes flying in the air.
See, you're joking. He's not going to like this. Last thing on the Felder 5, and then we can get to the rest of the stuff. It seems like Florida kind of figured out who they are. They've got this 2-quarterback system with Lackway and Mertz. They figured that out, and they're slowly. I think this game as a rivalry game, right? They're playing Tennessee. They're at Tennessee, but this game as a rivalry game, as a game where they've started to they beat Mississippi State, they beat UCF. I think they're starting to figure some stuff out. I'm not saying Billy Napier is going to keep having that job, but they have figured things out. And I think that this is going to be more of a game because I think Tennessee is going through an identity crisis right now.
Yeah, I would agree. And this is another big spread. I think like 14.5 in a rivalry game where Florida definitely look, it's like, I hate to give Hartzell credit for anything, but you don't want to mess around and get merched on Saturday because they have been very efficient with him at quarterback here over the last few weeks.
Right.
And yeah, it's kind of hard to lean with Tennessee. I definitely think Tennessee's a better team. I definitely think their defense is still one of the best in the country, but
but that's not
hard to trust them.
We didn't show up to see Tennessee's defense be one of the better defenses in the country. We showed up to see that offense shine.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is Nico Iamaleava. He's okay.
Well, what happened on Saturday, in your opinion? Like, because to me, honestly, everybody knows I've been on Tennessee all year. Even in the Oklahoma game when they covered, and especially against Arkansas, it just looks like they're playing scared.
It's not scared. It's uncertain. I don't want to throw the word scared around. I don't think they're scared. I think they're uncertain. And that uncertainty, I mean, we're talking about a guy like, let's be real. This is a guy, with the exception of Chattanooga, his best passing game is 211 yards against North Carolina State. We know North Carolina State's not very good.
Right.
But he also threw 2 interceptions in that game. So this is like the reality of Tennessee is that their rushing game is Dylan Sampson is the best part of this team. He's got 12 touchdowns.
Yeah.
What is that? 4 behind Jeanty? half as many yards.
Still got a ways to go.
Yeah.
Half as many yards, but still,
they could not move the ball against Arkansas at all. I mean, this is their drive chart. 3 plays, -5 yards, punt. 8 plays, 29 yards, punt. 3 plays, -5, punt. 9 plays, 32 yards. This is their final possession of the first half. Turnover on downs because of the end of the half. So that's first half for him. Trailed 3-0.
I got it. I'm looking at it too.
And he just kind of ran out of bounds.
But then to start the third,
so don't. That was one of the most frustrating things that happened over the course of the week. Just throw the ball in the end zone.
Yeah, you got to give somebody a chance.
You either have to get an incompletion and try to kick a field goal, or you have to throw the ball in the end zone. You cannot just jog out of bounds. That's not how it works.
I love how
that's like Reggie Ball.
Yeah.
Throwing the ball away on 4th down. Like, you can't do that.
I love how we made it back to this point because I did want to ask you off the top. We're not here to relitigate last week because we're Friday. We're
sure
previewing week 7. However, for you, Felder, who's cooking, who's in his element, who's living his best life on a Saturday, taking in all these games, would you have as much chaos as we had the previous week, which was supposed to be apple picking weekend? And sure enough, it delivers with 5 of the top 11 teams going down, 2 top 5 SEC teams losing on the road to unranked teams for the first time ever, Tennessee being one of those at Arkansas. And you're reacting and you're processing all of this. You're having to work into overdrive. Take me through the mind of Michael, because for a fan, it's a dream. When you're working, how do you process all that?
I like seeing guys get their teeth kicked in every now and then. And that's what Vanderbilt did. I'm not going to pull no punches. I wrote about it, and I will continue to talk about it because I got to do another show later. But Vanderbilt won that football game. Arkansas won that football game. Tennessee, Alabama, they did not lose. They got beat. And those are two completely different things for folks that don't realize this. Like, there are some things that are like mental mistakes, and you're not there, you're not all the way there in terms of what's happening. And there's other times where you just get completely mushed around. And Vanderbilt mushed around Alabama, and Arkansas, they put paws on Tennessee. They put the paws on them. And when you put the paws on Tennessee, you saw that their offense just like they weren't strong enough, tough enough to stand up. And Heupel's looking. Anytime you see a coach do this, you know he don't have an answer. Anytime you see a coach throw those two hands up, what are you doing? What's going on? He didn't expect to be in a fight like that. And I think that's, as someone who has been in many fights in their life, I didn't win most of them. Probably 50-50, which my buddy Bomani thinks is the most insane thing. If you're 50-50 in fights, why do you keep fighting? I'm like, I don't know. I like it. But Bama got into a fist fight with Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt beat him. Pavia, shout out to him.
Shout out.
He did a great job. And the way that Vanderbilt and Clark Lee worked that long option, and they set up the option from jump. And for people that, if you go back and you watch the game, or you go back and you just watch the game highlights, that first touchdown they score, he reverses out, hands the ball off, and then he carries out the fake. Alabama does not pay attention to him at all. And then Vanderbilt's like, okay, you're not going to pay attention to us? Got it. So they start running the option. And then they start paying attention to him. And then as they pay attention to him, he hits the pitch. Cool, we hit the pitch. Pitch is good. They have not practiced for this. They don't know who has which responsibility. And then you throw in the wrinkle, because they started running the triple option. The triple option is him reversing out, running the option. Okay, you're paying attention to Pavia. Then he could pitch it to the running back. But guess what? We got that. And I know we're not supposed to talk about this guy he's a bad guy, bad dude. But they're hitting that Urban Meyer with Aaron Hernandez, that shovel pass. And they started hitting that to the tight end. And it worked. Because Alabama's so stretched out wide, because they're worried about the wide pitch. They're worried about Pavia running. They're worried about that. And then they hit that shovel to the inside, and he's able to scoot. And then my favorite play of last weekend, and then we can get back and we start talking about these games. But my favorite play of last weekend was the long option that Vanderbilt ran, which was, and so when you think about an option, right, we think about like that Nebraska style, like I-form, give, or Navy, Air Force, the immediate fullback give, quarterback keep, or the pitch. And what we saw is Vanderbilt decided the immediate give will be a swing. So the running back runs on a swing out towards the hash to the right side. Okay, that's Alabama has that covered. Got it. The quarterback keep is the quarterback running left side. So the quarterback's moving to his left. How is this an option? Where's the pitch? Oh, the pitch is a wide receiver behind the line of scrimmage, just hanging out that Alabama doesn't cover at all. You throw it to him, you score a touchdown, you keep moving. I love that. All right, what else do we got?
Now, Pavia's come a long way from the bleach blonde hair, the chains around his neck, the earrings, the tank top he wore when he went to Virginia Military Institute. Ralph Russo had a good piece from The Athletic earlier this week. Pavia told him, it's not being cocky, that's just me. It's who I am. Every time I touch the field, I'm the best player on the field. No matter who we play, that's just who I am. He's a dog. Looked like Paulie D on the surface, but he backs it up. And he has helped to revolutionize that Vandy program.
I saw, my man, he does it for his
and now he's the
Mexican-American quarterback. Love that. Love to see it. Like
was a high school wrestler, won a national championship at the NAIA level as well. Yeah, he's a dude. All right. You want to go to
do the rest, and then we can get to the picks?
Yeah, you want to go to Morgantown because West Virginia and Iowa State. This might be the one where the clones get got. What do you think?
First of all, can we lock dock? Can we at least, like, this is something Stephen Hartzell does need to pay for this, because what team was I going to pick last week?
Were you going to take
Iowa State?
That's My Dog?
I was going to take West Virginia.
Oh, I
State, West
remember you
Virginia.
tweeted about it. Yeah, you were going to take West Virginia.
And Hartzell talked me out of it.
He got all sassy too on Twitter. I remember. Yeah,
He talked me out of it. And what did West Virginia do?
they won.
They didn't just win. They walked the dog on them.
Yeah.
Well, 38-14. They walked the dog on them. And he talked me out of it. Like I was
It's an important lesson you got to learn at some point in your life. You can't listen to Hartzell on anything, like anything at all.
They walked the dog on them. And they were a dog. They were the underdog in that game. They won 38-14. Hartzell talked me out of it. So I am very interested to see what it looks like. They're hosting Iowa State. Iowa State is in what, the top? Are they in top 12?
Yeah, 11, 5-0.
So
2-0.
top 12 team, top 12, top 15, top 12 team, right outside of the top 10. I still am not, and again, we talk about learning all the time on the show. I'm still not sure what Iowa State actually is. I just know they just keep winning football games.
Nighttime, Morgantown, West Virginia.
House is burning.
Yeah, playing better. You know, hey, they had a tough start out of the gate when you got the backyard brawl. You got Penn State as well. You look at Neil Brown's, turnaround that he was able to orchestrate last year and saving his job. And this West Virginia team is they're not going to be taken lightly by anyone in the Big 12, but they're in the best spot possible at this point, trying to put their season back on track at home, getting a top 15 team and 11th ranked Iowa State. So, I mean,
and you can pick them again this week. You can pick them again. They can be your dog this week because they're a field goal. They're getting a field goal.
Dog. Okay. I might have to.
That's going to be going up against Ohio State, Oregon, and Ole Miss, LSU, which each kick at 7:30. Iowa State, West Virginia is at 8 o'clock. What else stands out on the card? I mean, just browsing through, you got Alabama laying 21 against South Carolina. Hate to be Shane Beamer. I mean, he was probably more as disappointed as Legend calling into the Paul Feinbaum show earlier this week, knowing that Alabama just suffered their first loss in 40 years to Vanderbilt. Now has to go to Tuscaloosa. Sleepy Wake Forest hosting Clemson. Going to be a lot of orange there with the Carolina Classic Fair going on concurrently.
I'm going to stick in the Big 12, and I'm going to go K-State, Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Are
juicy.
we going to have to start to believe in Colorado?
If they win that one, sure. I do already believe there's going to be some points in that game.
They only have one loss.
Yeah, they're both okay. So they're both 4-1.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out who is serious. Okay, that Kansas State loss at BYU. I know it was fluky, but man, that really changed the way that I. Yeah, that changed just the way that they let that one get away from them so quickly. Really changed the way I felt about them, but they can gain back that goodwill here. And equally for Colorado, I think any negative conversation that one might have about Deion, yeah, that's still going to exist. There's still going to be the haters. However, we've really got to quiet that conversation. If Colorado wins this, you talk about the respectability factor. I mean, yeah, I think we talk about the Buffaloes in a much different light. Should they take down K-State at home, pair of 4-1 teams, and it's against your former running back in Dylan Edwards?
But there's that. There's also the reality is we're halfway through the season, basically. And after this weekend, we'll be halfway through the season. If we're halfway through the season and this team is 5-1, we do have to start ultimately considering that maybe they will end up in the Big 12 championship game, which would be a massive accomplishment for this team that nobody really thinks is that good. They have two really good players, but they're starting to come together as a football team. And I think that is, we're at to change kind of the narrative with how we discuss Colorado. But Kansas State's going to be an interesting one.
Do y'all know who leads the Big 12 right now? Without
who
looking,
leads like
Iowa State.
Yeah,
Iowa State's got to be Iowa State, right?
Well, yes, they're undefeated. BYU too, but Texas Tech's played 3 league games. They're 3-0. So they've been perfect.
Oh wow.
How about Texas Tech, who almost dropped one to Abilene in week 1?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty impressive for them to be where they're at right now.
Yeah, and they got bullied by Wazoo. But, yeah, Texas Tech, 3-0, BYU 2-0, Iowa State 2-0, that Colorado, West Virginia as well. And then it's just a muddied 1-1 mess with teams like 16th ranked Utah, who is going to get Cam Rising back, apparently, here on Friday night in the desert at Arizona State. I'll believe it when I see it, but that news surfaced on Thursday night.
That's why I was shaking my head. Like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, I love Utah and I hate Utah. Like, they truly are the most cagey team with respect to injury reports and like Cam Rising. We've seen him in back-to-back weeks warm up.
Yeah.
And then just like, nope, not playing.
Oh, yeah. They know what they're doing. They know what they're
played
doing.
one time in the last 19 games.
So here we go. You want to hit on this private equity meeting? I've read about it. I just still don't understand any of it.
Yeah, I think it's something I threw it on the dock because I think we should at least touch on it. Obviously, we don't have the answers. We weren't there. And I think the conjecture and discourse is, going to be dependent on who's reporting what. But the consensus was that, these couple of these private equity firms were part of these landmark meetings between, the Big Ten and the SEC, Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey, who have this newfound relationship or alliance, much different than the previous alignments from years ago. But, this working relationship to try and figure out things for college football, whether it's, future scheduling, the college football playoff, what do we do in 2026 and beyond, NCAA governance, roster limitations, all of these different things. And then these private equity groups, two of them were invited to these meetings in Nashville. And Thursday night, it was reported that really the consensus, and this is encouraging for me, what I read, because Tony Petitti said, quote, college football is not broken. And Greg Sankey also seconded that. He assured folks by saying, look, we're not here to shake up and change the entire landscape of college football and make this some big super. Now, saying and doing two different things.
Right.
So, he's kind of got to say this. You're not going to let any cat out of the bag. But to say no to big money that might want to come in and get a seat at the table and help fund some super league, for these two guys to come away and say, look, we heard them out. We heard their conversation, but we're really not interested. We can do this on our own. We don't need private money coming into the college football and intercollegiate athletic space. To me, that's encouraging to hear as a college sports fan and somebody who works in the space, who loves covering.
There we go. Look at that.
So, I mean, that's really the biggest takeaway. So we'll see what continues to happen as those two continue to meet. I thought too was interesting, and Felder, tell me if you believe this makes sense. They don't want to make a decision, and granted, there's other. You got to take into account all the other commissioners as well here with the college football playoff.
Or you don't have to.
I guess you don't. I guess you don't. But Sankey and Petitti both agree they don't want to make decisions on expanding either expanding the 12-team format or the automatic bid process, whatever it is. They don't want to decide on 2026 and beyond, because currently we've just got this season and next season under this format that has been well discussed and well outlined. But how does that change? Well, they want to at least make that determination after a successful first-year launch to see what challenges and problems might arise.
Like, literally, can we just have this thing happen? We don't even know what this looks like.
Yeah, no idea. Would you agree, though? It's made things more entertaining, though, for a lot of these other teams.
I guess, yeah. I just don't it's the thing for me is and again, and Tripp's already heard this. I don't know if you've heard it, but it's frustrating to when you're sitting down and you're trying to go through what's going to happen or what can happen, because everybody has to talk about playoff predictions. And I wish I should have talked about this with Chip too, because he has to do the same thing that I have to do. And it's just what's going to happen? How does this work? What are we going to do? And it's I sat down and I was going through my notes, and I'm going through the rankings and going through all this, and my wife asked me what I was doing, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And she goes, well, why don't you just go 1, 2, 3, 4? There's 12 teams, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I was like, that's not how it works. We have to get through a year of seeing what this looks like, at least a year. Honestly, I'd argue the old playoff started in 2014. We had 10 playoffs, right?
Yeah, 14.
So we had all that, and people are trying to change it all already when we've never had one. We don't know what this is even going to look like. Because who knows? Maybe somebody pisses the bed in November. We don't know what this looks like.
Yeah.
So this is going to be very interesting. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm very ready to go for a run today because I am so like, I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Got a lot of energy, anxiety, stress.
Anxiety is a better word for it. Absolutely. So we got that. We hit it all. Let's get to these.
We did.
We've already talked about all these games, right? We don't need to talk about Purdue.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think we moved some picks. All these games we're talking about, every matchup we've talked about today. Yeah. The Varsity Network app, make sure you download that. You can listen to Stephen Hartzell at 12 noon tomorrow. He'll be back in that chair I'm sitting in right now doing this show for him and pinch hitting 12 to midnight, Sirius XM, as well as the Varsity Network app, though, live college football games podcast, many of these hometown team calls. Make sure you have that queued up for you on Saturday. Okay, let's get to week 7. We want to do That's My Dog first, and then we do the 3-for-all. Let me make sure I got the order.
That's how we do it.
You know, though, you're a true fan because you listen to the show every day. You know how I realized that? Because you knew Felder's buddies were at Chapel Hill last week.
Yeah, and I also read the newsletter on Substack. So come on.
That's my dog.
My bad.
That's my dog. Say that right, Mom. That's my dog. That's my dog. That's my dog. And anybody got to say anything, you let me know. That's my dog.
Underdog picks to win outright. Felder's 3-4, Tripp 7-2. Hartzell 1-6. Felder is leading the standings. So I'm going to have a celebrity pick. I'll save mine for last. Felder, you're in the lead, so you've got the honors first.
No, Tripp goes first.
Oh, Tripp goes. Okay,
first,
Tripp go.
You glossed over it very quickly. 7-2 on outright dogs, including 2 last week. Just for a quick recap there, I did give Wake Forest, who was down 10 in the fourth quarter.
They came
back and won, and then Florida got it done too.
You're right. I read the standings wrong. 7-2, Tripp. You have a commanding 4-game lead right now on Felder, and you're up 6 on Hartzell.
I'm looking to keep it. I'm going to take Arizona. They're a field goal dog. They're on the road at BYU, and look, good on BYU. It's been a great start to the year, but they still feel like one of those teams where I'm just waiting for the rug to get pulled out from underneath them.
Okay.
That's just kind of how they feel to me. So I think maybe this is the week it happens. I'll take Arizona.
There you go. Arizona +3.
Let's hear from Hartzell first because he called in, and then Felder, you can react off of Hartzell. You want to do that?
Sure.
Let's make sure we slip Papa Hartzell into the show.
All right, Schass, appreciate you filling in for me, buddy, giving me the ability to take in some football as a fan. Doesn't get to happen very often. Got to see the sunrise this morning in the Shenandoah Valley. Pretty place. And Bridgeport Stadium was low-key kind of hype last night. So maybe you can hear it in my voice. We had a good time. So, 3-for-all. I'll keep it quick because I don't really love the card. I don't know if the doctor's in love with this week's card. I'm not.
Ooh,
but
he's going 3-for-all.
Hang on. I'm pausing him because I'm jumping to the 3-for-all. I got to give That's My Dog pick first. I don't want to jump ahead. His That's My Dog is San Jose State +1.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I don't know if he's going to include that on this. So I don't want to spoil it.
So he's going back to the well because actually that's the only pick he missed last week. Okay. He had San Jose covering 7 against was it Nevada? Did they play last week?
They opened
as a close game.
They opened as a 2-point favorite over Colorado State, and now they are +1.
And now they're +1. And who does he always come at for doing stuff like that? But that's okay. That's okay. He's got San Jose State. Okay, it's official. They're +1.
All right, Felder, who's your dog? Then we'll resume.
I like to talk to the doc about these. I'm looking at Washington at Iowa. I'm looking at Wisconsin at Rutgers. UNC hosting Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And you know I don't shy away from big games. I'm looking at Oklahoma. I'm looking at USC.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And we already talked about it on the show. I'm looking at West Virginia.
Okay, I like West Virginia out of that group. Who was the first one you said before Wisconsin?
Washington going to Iowa.
Yeah, I don't like that one. I kind of like Iowa in that spot. I'm paying attention to Wisconsin though. I think maybe we buried those guys a little bit
Too
prematurely
early, right?
with
Where they at, Rutgers?
with what happened at Alabama.
Yeah, they're at Rutgers.
Playing Rutgers. But I think that's like a 7-point spread. I'm done with
2.
It's 2? I'm sorry. Okay. UNC, I don't like that pick. Oklahoma, I don't like that pick either, especially to win outright. I think Texas is going to win.
Here's
USC,
Georgia Tech's good as an underdog, so they're coming in favorite. Plus, UNC's lost 3 in a row. I think there's value.
I feel like Georgia Tech is just I feel like they're just a better team, and maybe it's going to affect North Carolina a little bit. We've already talked about it once on the show. Like their places, it's not much of a home field advantage right now.
What's the temperature going to be this weekend?
Probably perfect.
I was getting texts from people that said it's too hot here.
I think it's going to be 70 tomorrow. Dude, it was 44 this morning.
It was chilly this morning.
It was very cold. 78 degrees. 78 degrees. But I'm going to tell you something right now. You see, here's the thing you guys aren't thinking about. If that stadium's empty, they used to call Keenan the aluminum jungle.
Aluminum jungle.
It gets hot in there. When all those seats are empty,
it's like a microwave.
It's like exactly. The sun is bouncing off those boys. The sun is bouncing off those boys.
Maybe they're not ready for it.
And it literally, it'll burn your thighs. If you got shorts on, it'll burn your thighs. So, yeah. I mean, you know what, man? I haven't done 2 in a while. I haven't done 2 since last year, have I?
I mean, last year you were hitting us with 2 and 3 a week for a while.
You know what? I'm going to go, give me Wisconsin.
Okay.
Plus the 2.
Can I interest you in Wyoming plus 2.5 at home against San Diego State? Wrong team's favored.
No.
Wow.
I hate the way that Wyoming plays football. I like it as a football guy, but the way that they play is you have no idea what's going to happen.
All right, Wisconsin plus 2. Anywhere else?
Jeez. You know what? Give me Oregon and give me West Virginia.
Yeah, I don't hate either one of those. I think Oregon's got
Oregon, and I'm going to take West Virginia, and then we'll have something. Let's give them something to talk about.
What's our line on Oregon plus 3, and then who else?
West Virginia is getting a field goal too.
Okay, all right.
Going back, do you know how many points Wyoming averages per game?
It can't be many.
14.
16.4 points per game. 16 points a game in college football today? That's insane.
They do have I will say, that's one of Phil Steele's best plays this week. And I think one of the details he gave us, if I remember this right, Schass, Wyoming is at home for the second week in a row against a team that hasn't been to altitude. It's an altitude stat.
It's an altitude stat.
That they're very.
You talk about weather. Laramie's War Memorial Stadium, 69 degrees for this one. It's still gorgeous out there. The total has gone over in 4 of the last 5 Cowboy games, though. So
I'm excited to see it. Let's finish up Hartzell. I picked 3. I haven't picked 3 in a long time. I picked 3 this time. Let's go.
Okay.
What's your bonus? Oh, you got LSU.
Yeah, I'm going LSU 3.5. 3.5 point dog at home, Death Valley, homecoming, all the other reasons we outlined earlier when we had Chip on. I can't go against it. I got some blood in my vein. My daughter was born there. She's an LSU baby. So,
tough to go against them at night.
13 in a row at home.
Yeah.
Give them to me. So going with LSU. Okay, 3 for all. Here's the standings. Hartzell 14. Oh, that's last year. So 12-6, 12-6. So you have identical records. This is Trip against Hartzell. So we've heard the front part of Hartzell's message to us from the Shenandoah. Let's resume.
Picks nonetheless. We try to keep it rolling. Got a couple of Big Ten noon games. Give me the over in the Washington-Iowa game. I got it sitting at 42.5. I think Iowa's going to get theirs. By theirs, I mean like 20. I think Washington's going to get theirs like 20. And that gets us over the 42.5. That's a noon game.
Oh, 20 plus 20 is 40.
Washington, Iowa, over 42.5. I'm going back to the well with Rutgers. Give me the Scarlet Knights -2 at home against Wisconsin. Badgers blew out Purdue last week. Congratulations.
We're head to head.
Terrible. Give me Rutgers at home. Just win, baby. Just cover the 2. That's all I'm asking for. Last game on the board, I'm going to Provo. Give me BYU -3 against Arizona. 4 o'clock kick. Arizona's just schizophrenic, man. Not sure what I'm going to get with those guys. BYU is hyped. They're 5-0. They're at home. I think they'll win. I think they'll cover the 3. So those are my 3 picks. BYU -3, and then a couple of Big Ten nooners. Washington, Iowa, over 42.5, and Rutgers -2. Hope you boys have a great weekend, unless your name is Trip Hurt. Thanks so much.
If he goes over this week, I need a Hit D Pod koozie because I've had $5 that he just won't take, ready to give him. So I need my koozie.
He has them at his house. He needs to just bring it to you.
He needs some in his office just for all. I mean, he could be selling those like the candy barn they put in the break room.
By the way, folks, check out hitdpodshop.etsy.com. They're available. I am the one that's doing all the shipping. I am taping. I'm putting shipping labels on things. My mailbox is just like jam-packed from folks buying the koozies. I will say this. You were able to pause that message. Hartzell's never been able to pause a message.
He can't figure it out. It's probably like a button with 2 vertical lines on it.
It's funny when you hover over it in the StreamYard, all you got to do, it says play right now. I can hit play.
All right, Schass.
There you go. And then I just clicked it again, and it pauses. And I get it.
Never been able to pause.
It's not that difficult.
Wow.
Now, the main thing you got to do in the StreamYard is take the loop feature off, because if you're playing shorter clips, it'll just keep looping. So that is the one thing you got to look at. But he's figured that out. So I am not surprised. To recap, before Tripp jumps in with his 3, 42.5 over Washington, Iowa. Rutgers covering the 2 they're laying at home against Wisconsin, and BYU laying the 3 against Arizona. He's taking a pair of favorites and then going over at Kinnick. Washington and Iowa.
20 plus 20 is going to get him the over.
Yeah, that was an interesting take there. Like, hey, I like the over in Iowa, Washington. It's 42.5. I think Iowa will do their part and get 20, and Washington will do their part.
Yeah. And the reason why
Tripp just means it's going to go to overtime and
overtime. There you go.
Yeah, the reason why Tripp talked you off the ledge on Iowa Washington, Felder, is because you got to think Washington emotional win at home over Michigan, big letdown spot, traveling a couple of time zones. I think teams are 1-8 here in the early going, and traveling over a couple of time zones is the number that I had heard. I might have got that from Chip and his gang. So they haven't played at Kinnick Stadium, Washington and Iowa, since the namesake. Kinnick himself played his first year of varsity football at Iowa.
Wow.
You and those Nuggets, man. Jeez.
First meeting since the 95 Sun Bowl. Okay, Tripp, what are your 3 picks?
All right. I'm really tempted to take the under in that Iowa game just to go complete oppo, but I don't know. I've got my top 3 circled here, so I guess I'm just gonna stick with them. Everybody zigs, I'm going to zag. Give me Texas to cover a big number. Felder, I don't know if you want to look at it, get an official number. I've got it sitting at 14.
All right, 14. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, I need to hold you accountable here because you're making picks. Okay,
14-5.
Yep.
Killing me. We didn't even check Hartzell's.
Bet.
All right. I'll also take Oregon State -3.
I can get you 14 at Caesars.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
Felder's the judge and jury here.
3.
Oregon State -3. And I'm going to get things started early, like tonight. Give me UNLV. I'm going back to the well. against Utah State. I'm hoping it's not dry because UNLV is not necessarily a streak anymore. We talk about
Minus
this all the
18.
time on Thursdays.
Minus
Minus 18.
19.
Okay, yeah.
19.
19 is what I had. So give me UNLV minus 19 tonight to get me started.
I love the Oregon State play. They've covered 4 of 5 roadies against the Mountain West, 13 of 14 winning outright against unranked teams. Nevada has lost 24-28. So, and that number's small. That's cheaper than what it was with Phil, wasn't it, Trip? Down to 3 now? I want to say it was like 4, maybe. I don't know.
Yesterday it was 4.
Yeah, okay.
You're right.
Yeah. Good pick there. If you want more picks, numbers, Phil Steele Show, 1 episode back on the feed. Felder, anything else you want to push here ahead of week 7?
No, we're good. We're good, man. I got to do another show, and I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready for the weekend. We're good to go. Thank you so much for subbing in for Hartzell. And I truly, I know you guys can see me, but I keep looking outside. There's like a dump truck parked outside of my house. I don't know what's going on. And it's freaking me out because I hate when people park in front of my house. And then this is a dump truck, like a huge dump truck is parked out here. And I guess they're doing street maintenance, but like it's a lot.
Add in the bleachers on Twitter, on X, at Lock of the Docs, at Kyle Schass, where you can find me. Felder, it took me almost 2 weeks to get my Twitter back. I got hacked. Good old porn bot came through and swiped my login. Hey, don't use the airport Wi-Fi, folks. That is my biggest tip of the day. Do not get on the airport.
I go Wi-Fi. Mobile hotspot all the time.
I know.
I'm in the airport.
Normally I do. I don't know what I was thinking. Rookie mistake.
There we go.
Dumps like a truck. Truck. Boy, like what?
There we go.
All right. That's